Everyone, thank you so much for being on the call today and taking time out of your schedule to be here with us. The purpose of this statewide call is to make sure we all have the same information as we head into our regional events and, of course, then into state. We want to be consistent and want to make sure all coaches get any information needed to make it a great season for you and our athletes. Again, as Chop said, please make sure that you guys are on mute your phones, mute your computers. That'll eliminate any background noise to allow everything that needs to be heard. We will have discussion times where you guys can unmute and ask any questions that you guys might have. Again, on this call, as myself, Kyle Kemper from the Southeast, we have Jeff Franklin, as we all just met, our Senior Director of Competitions. We have Lauren McClintock up from our Northeast region. We have Ben Rubel, who will be joining us today from Unified Champion Schools, and also Susan Fogue is on the call today, our State Competition Director. So we want to thank them all for being here as well. Some important dates that we have for you guys moving forward. We will only be having one regional soccer event this year. Again, only one. It'll be on May 30th, Saturday. It'll be up in Denver, held at Westfield Village Park. Again, just one region, May 30th. Entries for this are due May 18th. Please be sure to send all entry forms to your regional managers. So for anyone in my region here in the Southeast, please be sure to send them to me instead of Adrian, and so forth with other teams' regions and their respective regional managers. Again, as we had last year, we will be requiring player passes. This will be printed ID cards that will identify whether if that player is an athlete or a unified partner. Moving forward, we will have state on June 12th through June 12th through the 14th. This will be at Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction again. All regional managers will submit entries from the regional up in Denver. And again, as we always do, you must attend the regional event in order to qualify for state. As we also always do, we require that you guys have 8 weeks of practice before state. Again, just before state, not your regionals. And please be sure to plan accordingly your practice schedules for this. You guys have any questions on any of the dates or practices that I just threw out at you guys?
Real quick, Kyle, I just want to add the player passes will be made and printed at the regional event. So just like last year, for those of you that were there, and if you guys are new this year, give yourselves a little time before or after your competition. We'll set up a little photo booth type station to get some pictures, but those player ID cards worked really well for soccer at regional and state, and it'll sort of serve as your name tag or name badge for not just regionals, but when you guys attend state as well. So thanks, Kyle.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions?
Kyle, this is Aspen from DPR.
Yes.
So I know the whole wash your hands, whether they're dirty or not, but the city has currently shut down as far as practices. So depending on when that's lifted, how much flexibility is there on the 8 weeks of practice prior to competition?
It's a great question.
Kyle, I'll take that, man.
Would you mind? Thank you.
Yeah. Like I said, Aspen, we're going to take this. I mean, if it turns into daily updates and we have to do that, we will. Based on my previous conversations with leadership and how we want to move forward, we still want to get everyone to state. I think that's our ultimate goal. We'll handle everything on a case-by-case basis, but we will obviously manage this situation to get everyone to state. So ideally, we would like to get that much time in. The funny thing about spring is that I feel like you guys cancel half your practices because of rain anyway. So it's always a struggle in general, but we'll be reaching out, and as long as you guys are communicating with your regional managers, those types of issues, we will make it work. That I can promise you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I am now going to pass it off to Ben Rubel, who's going to go over some form information for you guys.
How's everyone doing tonight? So Chop, yes, you got on the screen. So we're going to go over some forms. So on our website, if you go to Get Involved, and then you go to the coach page, and then go to our coaches resources link, and then go to the coach handbook, which we are slowly getting to. And then you go to the coach handbook by sport, and then you can see the athlete partner code of conduct. right there, I recommend everyone take a look at that. Go over it with your athletes and your partners before the season starts. And definitely I would recommend going over also before any competition. So before the regional competition, before the state competition, make sure you get all those signatures and everyone to get that submitted to you. It really just goes over how to treat your teammates, how to be a good teammate, and make sure that everyone is properly behaved at our events and at our trainings and represent Special Olympics Colorado in the utmost way possible. And then the next one that we're gonna go over is the coach's code of conduct. Sorry, that is a mouthful. Most of you are probably very familiar with this. Once again, we recommend you guys read it over, look it over, take it in as much as you can, and then Chop, if you want to scroll, perfect. And once again, at the bottom, if you guys could sign that if you haven't already. I know a lot of you probably already have, but if you could sign it, that would be great. It just ensures that we are providing, the best services that we can for our athletes and our partners. And it's just basic stuff, but stuff that we like to go over just to remind our coaches of how to properly behave and act when they represent Special Olympics Colorado and are providing services for our athletes. Then we have our spectator code of conduct. We are working on putting these up at all of our state events moving forward. We've gotten a lot of good feedback about them. It's diffused a few situations. So we're going to be looking to put these up at our events. Just simple reminders for our spectators to abide by these guidelines when they're at our events and supporting our athletes and partners. Perfect. Now we're going to go to the coaches' resources. And we're going to go coaches' handbook by sport. And then we're going to make our way down to soccer. Or football in parentheses, as you guys can see. So we're going to start off with the levels to rate team and players. And right there, you guys can read that yourselves, but it goes over the 4 different levels that we offer. Not much has changed from previous years, but we do recommend that you guys read that over before you submit your entry forms. If you have any questions about what level your team might be, please feel free to reach out to your regional manager, or if you're a school, to a UCS staff. They'd be happy to help you or give you some guidelines to determine what level you are. Next is our principles of meaningful involvement. Our principles of meaningful involvement form, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, goes over that basically we want everyone on the team to have a meaningful role and be meaningfully involved in the game. So we really don't want there to be athletes or partners that are just put on the field just to be on the field. We want you to find them a role, and not only find them a role, but make sure they're safe in that role so they can get the best out of the competition experience possible. And then we're going to go to our entry forms. This is a little bit newer this year. This first page here is required. It is our coaches form, coach roster form. That way we can contact you and we know who's going to be a coach and going to be on the sideline for you guys at your events. It's pretty simple to fill out. You guys can fill it out electronically. If you need any help with that, reach out to a regional manager or once again, a UCS staff. And then here's the team entry form. And this is like in years past, you fill this out with your region, coach's name, coach's email, and then you list your athletes and partners, list if you're unified or traditional, and get this in before the events. And then once again, it is required. So if you have any questions about this form, please don't hesitate to reach out. This helps us ensure that everyone's paperwork is up to date and also helps us with our divisioning process. So please make sure that these are as accurate as possible. A big thing is also birth dates on this. If you can get the date of birth, every once in a while we have 2 or 3 of the same as Chop's typing in Bill Smith. We might have 2 or 3 Bill Smiths. So if you have the date of birth, that will help us to possibly determine in our online system or database which Bill Smith is actually on your team. And then we're going to go down to our skills entry form. Here we go. This is our skills entry form. This is what you would list if you have an athlete that is interested in competing in skills. Just so everyone on the call is aware, wheelchairs and assisted device athletes can compete in skills. Wheelchairs and assisted devices, unfortunately, are not allowed in our 7v7 competition, which we're going to be getting into here in a little bit. But those individuals can compete in skills, and skills is also for any athlete that you guys feel might not be ready for the 7v7 or to play in a full field game. This is a good way for them to practice those skills and ideally work their way up to eventually be on a 7v7 team.
Hey, Ben, before we move forward too, we don't have an official entry form for it yet, guys, but something we tested last year and we're hoping to test again this year if there's interest as a team skills aspect, where if you do have athletes that sign up for skills, but they want more of that team feel, we're going to try to develop something for soccer specifically this year to where the whole team can be involved. They can still participate in their 7v7 competition, which Ben's about to touch on, but just so we have more of a team feel, the whole team is on the playing field at the same time, but just stay tuned to your regional managers or an email from Susan for that. I just wanted that to be on your radar. It's all yours again.
Perfect. And then as Chop mentioned, we are going to be going to 7-on-7 this year. What that means is that there's going to be a little bit larger size field. It's going to be 40 meters by 60 meters now. It does mean there's going to be a larger goal. It's going to be 2 meters by 5 meters now instead of the old 2 by 4 meter. And then roster size is going to increase to 15 maximum. There's no other major changes. All that we ask is please be conscious of age groups when creating and managing your team. Adults should not play with kids and vice versa. That's obviously for safety reasons, but also so we can get the most out of our athletes and we're pushing our athletes to their best ability. Please reference the SOCO rules interpretations for specific rules before you begin practice. That can be found in the coach's handbook on the website. So Chop, are you going to show them right quick? Yep. If anyone has any questions about these rules, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to answer them, but we decided to make this change this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Does anyone have any questions? This is a pretty big change. It's a significant one. So if you have anything you want to share with the group, please don't hesitate to ask now.
Hi, this is Giovanna. I coach Colorado Crush. I just had a quick question about the age group. So you're saying don't put adults with children, but online it says that you can have like a high school group, which would be, I think it said 13 to 20. Is that not going to be okay to have like 20-year-olds with 13-year-olds?
Where does it say that online specifically?
You know what? I would have to go back and find it.
Yeah, so our age groups range from 8 to 15, which is our youth, and then 16 to 21 is high schoolers, and then 22 and older. We understand that there may be situations where there's only one team in like a rural area or a smaller area. We just, for safety issues, just reach out to your regional manager if you do have something like that. If there is an issue where you might have a 13-year-old and then everyone else is in like their 30s, that's not ideally that's not what we want. That's not safe or fun for not only your team but the competitors you're playing against. You don't want them to hold back in those situations and not compete at their highest level because they're scared out of safety concerns. So if you have a specific instance like that, all we ask, just like with everything else, is to please reach out to your regional manager and we can discuss that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. And I think actually my kids are age 15 through 20, so I don't have 13-year-olds anymore.
Yeah, and that's something we can make a, I don't want to say exception, but again, case by case. If you have a 15-year-old that can compete in that 16 to 21-year-old group, that's something we can make work.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because this is Allison, and with the Raptors, we had that problem last year too, and we don't want to split our team up, and so our kids are like 13 to 18, and we were told last year that was in the high school division too, And so we're right now trying to recruit players. And so that's what we've sent out as far as information for our team. And there's a couple of younger ones that we've said, no, they can't do it because it's going to be, they're too small. But
Yeah. And just like I just mentioned, she's with Giovanna, talk to your regional manager. If it's something to where we have to come to a practice and make sure the skill level is okay, they're all going to be handled on a case-by-case basis. It's not something that we want to promote, but if we come to a practice and we fear that 13-year-old can't be on the same field as everyone else in that division, then we'd have to make a call at that point, unfortunately. So again, the safety and the health is the highest of priorities for us. So reach out to your regional manager or even reach out to myself and we can figure it out as we move along.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any questions?
Quick question. This is Aspen.
Yep.
So for the 5-a-side, it's a 3-2 ratio for athletes and partners. For the 7-a-side, is it going to be a 4-3?
Yep, it's 4-3. Just like every other sport, as long as you have more athletes, it's typically one more athlete than unified partner on the field at all times.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So, and that's also in the updated rule interpretations. Any other rules questions? Awesome. Okay, we're going to move on to the medical and Class A process with Mr. Kemper. Kyle, you want to take over?
Thank you, Chop. Thank you for sharing, Ben. So as you all know, your favorite part of everything is the paperwork, that athlete application in Class A. You guys all should have gotten an email from your regional managers with your last year's roster stating any paperwork needs leading into this year. Please be sure to take a look at that list and see who is needing paperwork, who is missing stuff, and who needs to be updated or renewed. And if you have new partners or new athletes that are not on that roster from last year, please be sure to reach out to your regional manager, let them know. We can add them to that list, to your roster, and we can also look at their paperwork needs and get back to you on that. That way you can have the most up-to-date list on everything. As you all know, if you don't already, everything is done online. Everything is online applications for our athletes that started this year, January 1, 2020. And if you guys do not know where you can find that, you can go here to our homepage, go to Get Involved. And if you scroll down to Athletes and go right over here to this tab, Online Medical Application. Click on that. So we'll scroll down a little bit. It'll give you a little blurb on just kind of what to expect throughout the application. You'll come down here. Obviously, step 1, you guys will take the examination form. This is very important. You want to make sure this is the only real paper part that you'll have to deal with, and that's just printing it out and taking it to your doctor. Once this is completed, you can upload it online to the online portion of the application, which is seen here in step 2. You can either scan this to yourself and upload it. You can take a quick picture and upload it, whatever works easiest for you guys. But it will not let you complete the online application without that physical form completed. Please keep that in mind. If you guys do start the online application, but maybe are missing some information or don't recall, or you haven't gotten your physical done yet, you can save and come back to that application. You guys have 30 days from when you started it to complete it, so please keep that in mind. We are having some issues trying to load it up, but you guys get the gist on where to find it, and it's pretty self-explanatory as you guys go question by question through that. If you guys do have any difficulties with the processes, you can either reach out to your regional managers, but we would recommend that you reach out to medical. You can contact them at medical@specialolympicsco.org. Again, that's medical@specialolympicsco.org. You can find that information right there up top, or down here, right there where Chop is highlighting. If you guys do have an incomplete medical application that was submitted in 2019, this would have been a paper application. To get this completed, if it's something as simple as missing one page or a signature or just an emergency contact information, what you can do is you can reach that help desk, which again is where CHOP had highlighted that on this page a little further down. You can reach out to them via phone or email, whatever is easiest for you guys, and we can work with you on getting that done so that way you don't have to re-go through the entire online application. You can just do that one portion from your 2019 paper application. Again, as we transition into the online, everything will be online as we progress, but just keep that in mind if there is anything that is missing from last year. Again, not only athletes, but unified partners and coaches. If you guys, as CHOP is going, you go to get involved, hit on coach. You guys will want to do the Class A registration as he's clicking on here. This as well is done completely online and has been done online for some time now. So nothing new there. You guys will do the Class A process as well as a background check if you are 18 years of age or older. This is a $17 fee that'll last you guys for 3 years. And again, we'll have to renew just as our athletes have to renew their athlete application. You guys, are there any questions on these processes with what I just explained? Sounds good. I'm going to pass it off to Susan, who is going to go over some state information for you guys.
All right, thanks, Kyle. I just wanted to touch base on a couple things before I get into that. I know there were a couple of chat questions that came in regards to kind of what our thought process was moving from 5v5 to 7v7. And there, there's a few things we've looked at. We've noticed through watching the different levels of competition with our soccer group that 7v7 just provides a little bit better overall competition for both athletes and partners. It seems that there's more meaningful involvement for everyone at that level, as opposed to sometimes on the 5v5 they can get that happens a little bit less. So that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we touch base on. In addition to that, any international level or USA Games level is also 7v7, and it lines up more with typical soccer, typical rec league soccer. So those are a few of the reasons that we switched over to that. So I just did want to make note of that, and also share that as a reminder, the rosters should stay the same from regionals to state. We understand with a bigger team that might be a little bit harder, but when you're making your teams, try to do your best to really think about, really find out who's going to be coming to state and try to keep those folks together so that we're not really changing the dynamic of that team. We've got some exciting stuff, I think, coming up for soccer. In addition to the 7v7 at state, we are going to be offering, instead of divisioning rounds, since we'll see most of you guys play at the Denver regional event, we're going to be offering a team skills competition for your teams. So this will be brand new to soccer this year. Your team will run through different skills stations and will be divisioned based on that. And so your team will receive 2 sets of awards, an award for team skills and an award for their competition. So Saturday morning, all soccer teams will be running through these team skills. We'll also be using that to review to see if we need to make any changes on divisions, as well as using those scores from a few teams out in the Western region to make sure that we have everyone properly divisioned. So we're excited about that. Hopefully your team will get excited about being able to get an extra medal. Those awards will then be presented later in the day at Olympic Town, and we'll keep you posted on all that information. And then later Saturday afternoon and Sunday will be similar to what it's been in the past. It will be your competition, your divisions of 3 and 4 competition, where we find out who the medal winners are. So to take a step a little bit back, I guess, Jeff, if you want to pull up the fact sheet for our state summer games, you can go ahead and do that. So as a reminder, they will be June 12th through the 14th at Colorado Mesa in Grand Junction. You will not need to update any rosters or make any changes after the regional tournament. I will send out rosters to you. We will make sure those are finalized. As Jeff mentioned, we will be doing pictures again at the regional event. So to ensure that we'll have the player passes for you guys that you'll get at your at check-in with your team. It was really helpful for the referees, and our games directors really thought it was a great benefit for that area. So we will do that again. I will ask you guys to submit a Class A roster, as well as a housing form and a meal order form. A couple of things to remember: the housing and meal order forms should be on a 4-to-1 ratio with athletes to a coach. If you have more than that for any particular reason, such as medical reasons or behavioral reasons, please feel free to make a note of that on your roster so that we can be aware of that. In regards to housing this year, everyone who's staying in the dorms will need to bring their own linens. Okay, that would be sheets, blankets, towels, pillows, etc. Everyone will need to bring their own linens. Those will not be provided for you. You will bring those in with you and take those out with you. Okay. Opening ceremonies will take place on Friday night between 7:30 and 8. More information will come to follow on that. And then we will have competition Saturday and Sunday as well. Okay. Any questions on any of those items?
Yeah, Susan. Hi, it's Allison again. So for what you were saying about the roster between regionals and state, do all of the athletes, like, does the team have to go to regionals to go to state, or do all the athletes on the team have to go to regionals to go to state? So like, is only the team that competes at regionals eligible to go to state? Or if I have somebody who gets sick and can't go to regionals, can they still go to state with the team?
So typically, we need you to play at regionals in order to advance to state. However, with everything going on, we have been a little more flexible with that, and we will be a little more flexible with that as far as sicknesses and things like that go, because obviously we want people that are sick to stay home. So we can deal with that. You know, ideally everyone plays at regionals, that goes to state. But if there's a case-by-case basis, we can look at that as well.
Okay, so for some reason obviously we want our kids to all go to regionals before they go to state.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're like for the pictures or whatever, or for the refs, is that something we'll just handle at state before?
Yeah, so what I'll ask you guys to do is actually, if there's someone that's not on that roster for a particular reason, I will ask you for a picture that will make to submit a picture that will actually make the player card with.
Perfect, thanks.
Hey, Allison, too, just make sure they're on the roster for regionals, though, too. Even if you know they're not coming because they're sick that week, or when you fill out the roster form, make sure they're on there so we know that they were scratched. If you just show up to state with an athlete we didn't know was on the regional roster, that's where we'll be more strict. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah, like
Yeah,
in other words,
okay.
don't add your ringer after regional.
For sure, yeah. Just make sure you have them on the roster of the regional event.
I got you.
Okay. And then Jeff, if you want to hop over and show everyone how we can get to the competition page, just so you guys are aware, if you go under this Get Involved tab, scroll down to competition and click on that. This is where everything competition related will be posted, right? So over here we have our state winter games results that we're just finishing up. And then if you scroll down a little bit lower, you'll go ahead and see, scrolling, perfect. Keep going, yep. You'll see that we've got state basketball in there, and then you'll see that I do have the state summer games fact sheet on this page as well. Everything related to summer games will be on this page. So feel free to share this link with families, assistant coaches, athletes, everyone who you think might need it, your unified partners. Everything for the event will be on here. Everything from opening ceremonies to the victory dance to healthy athletes to schedules, rosters, everything you'll need for the event will be posted on this page. And then after the event, we'll wrap up with photos and results and things like that on this page. So this is a great page to direct everyone to, so you're not maybe getting all the questions of when are we playing? When are we playing? You can just let folks know just to go check right over to the soccer schedule, and then they'll be able to find your team on there as well. Okay. And as always, if you guys have questions on state, feel free to reach out to myself. Your regional manager can connect with me if need be as well. But I think we are looking forward to some exciting changes for soccer, and I think it's really going to elevate the level of play that we do have at our soccer tournament. So, but if you have any questions, feel free to jump in now.
Hey, Susan, we had a question she said her mic wasn't working, and she is in the chat. She mentioned that 7v7 is a 40% increase in people, but the team size increase from 12 to 15 is about 25% increase. They just wanted to know a little bit more where that 12 to 15 jump came from in comparison to the 5v5 to 7v7. In the
Yes, and actually, I'll kind of take a step back from that. The 5v5 roster, we probably increased last year to that 12-person roster to help alleviate some of the issues of people not being able, not all the teams going to state, right? If there's a certain agency that has 4 teams, we had some issues with those folks all getting to state. So we tried to make that roster size a little bit larger. We felt that the 15 was a good size roster. If you think about it, that's still leaving you 8 players on the bench, so you can sub in and out 1 and 1. We were curious. We were thinking that any more than that would really not probably allow enough people playing time. It was the main thought behind that.
Thank you for answering that. Are we moving on to fundraising?
Yep, you're up, Kyle.
Thank you, Susan, again. And as we go into fundraising, we want to, and obviously encourage you guys to do so. And there are a lot of different opportunities to fundraise through SoCo. There aren't any coming up in this upcoming season that we can list for you guys at this moment. But if you guys have any questions on team fundraisers for you guys specifically, reach out to your regional managers and they can help you get connected with different community programs, as well as some cool ideas on how to get out there and raise money for your guys' teams. There's so many ways to do so, and a lot of people get really creative with it, and it's really cool to see. So we're always open to learn new ideas, and hopefully you guys are as well, and we'd love to be able to share that with you guys. So as well as there are some grants out there that could apply to a lot of our teams, and we wanted to touch base with that. If you guys are out there wanting to apply for a grant and using the name Special Olympics Colorado, we greatly appreciate you guys wanting to bring in that money, but we ask that you guys please communicate that with us, with your regional managers, so we can communicate that with our development team. Reason being is that with the name of Special Olympics Colorado and it being such a big umbrella here in the state of Colorado, for instance, a grant that a team could apply for using that name, you guys could possibly get $1,000 from that grant, which is fantastic, and we fully support that. But there could also be an opportunity where we could come in, help out, and maybe get a lot more money, like $10,000 or even $100,000 that could go towards Special Olympics competitions, a lot more teams. And of course, for any team who gives us that connection and leads us towards that grant, we will make sure that you guys get that $1,000 that you guys would have gotten, and possibly even more. So it's not that we're going to jip you guys in any way. We promise that you guys will get that money that you guys are going to apply for, but there could be a greater possibility to have a bigger reach and impact within SoCo as a whole as well. So again, we just ask that for any grants where you use Special Olympics Colorado's name, that you are in touch with your regional managers, and we can communicate that with our development team to, again, benefit everyone the best that we can, including your team. Are there any questions with fundraising by chance?
Hi, it's Giovanna again with Colorado Crush. I just had a quick question. Last year, we raised quite a bit of money with our team,
Okay.
and part of that, my intention was to offset some of the expenses for the parents and families going to Grand Junction. And at the end of the season, we issued gift cards to the families, and I know that that's not going to be allowed this year. Do you know how I can continue to offset those expenses for them in a way that's not gift cards?
Yes. So if you guys, for instance, if you're traveling to Grand Junction for a Special Olympics event competition, if you guys save, for instance, gas receipts, if you go to a Shell, you fill up, and if that parent saves that receipt, what you guys can do is turn that into your regional manager, and your regional manager will be able to process that, reimburse that parent for that gas or another expense like a rental car or equipment or whatever it was that was Special Olympics related. Whoever it is, they keep the invoice, the receipt, or whatever sort of payment that they got. We can reimburse that directly to them. So that answers that question. Instead of using the gift cards, if you guys use whatever card or invoice that you guys have, we can directly give you guys that money back from you guys' account.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions regarding fundraising or account information? Sounds good. We're going to move into our 2020 Coaches Summit. We have an update for you guys. It will be held, our first 2020 Coaches Summit, our Spring Coaches Summit will be held Saturday, May 16th, 2020 at the Radisson Denver Aurora Hotel. This will be split also at West Middle School, excuse me. We will have our classroom portion at the hotel, and we will have our hands-on training done at the West Middle School. Again, that is at May 16th. Your regional managers will be sending out that information to you guys shortly if they haven't already. And please be sure to save the date so you guys can get certified in these different sports and better your training and better your certifications moving forward within Special Olympics. You guys have any questions regarding the Coaches Summit? Great. I want to, again, thank you all for being here tonight, taking time out of your guys' schedule to listen in, and hopefully you guys were able to retain all the new information that we were able to throw at you guys. With the changes that we have in soccer, we're really excited about it. It's going to allow for some great growth as we are able to get on a higher playing field with what SOI and other programs are doing. So we will be staying on the line. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us, use the chat box, and we will be happy to answer that for you guys. Again, thank you all, and hope you guys have a wonderful night.
Hey guys, before you go, I just wanted to touch base on two things. There might have been some confusion earlier. 7v7 is going to be the only team aspect offered with soccer. 5v5 is not going to be offered at all anymore. Just so you guys know, there might have been some confusion according to maybe some of the chat box. All team soccer events this year will be 7v7. No 5v5 will be offered. Also, we understand the concerns. I know Allison brought it up with everything happening in the country right now. The best thing you guys can do is communicate with your regional manager. If you guys are communicating, I think we're all on the same page of providing opportunities for our athletes as long as it's safe and it's a healthy environment. Just please stay on top of communicating with your regional managers. It just makes everyone's lives more efficient and easier and allows us to create those opportunities in struggling times like this. So we appreciate your guys' time. Like Kyle said, we're going to stay on for a few more minutes if you have any questions.
This is Doug Slater from the Timberwolves. I have a question about the field size.
Yes.
You know, right now we're going to 7x7, and I'm trying to visualize shoehorning a 40 by 60 size field into where we previously played, and I'm sure it will fit. But then where do the teams that aren't in current competition, families, spectators, and et cetera, where do they all go? Over.
At our events, at the venues that we're going to provide, they will have ample room for those aspects. If you guys need help finding a new practice facility or field, that is something your regional manager can help with. If that is a concern.
Talking about when we were at Grand Junction, we play
Yes.
on the.
Yes, and Doug, I can
field.
actually jump in. You're talking about the spaces where we were in last year.
Yeah.
We are we are exploring other options. We may have one field in an auxiliary location that will still be located on campus within walking distance, but
Okay.
we're still finalizing all of that information.
Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, Doug, I definitely misunderstood.
Susan, there's a question about if there's any places in nationals for Colorado soccer for adults.
We will know that next year yes, we'll know that next year. The next USA Games will be in 2022, and we'll find out in 2021 what we'll be taking. So we'll keep everyone posted on that if we will be taking a soccer team.
Okay, great.
Hey, it's Allison again. On the stuff where like basketball got canceled, and I thought I saw something like all practices or whatever were supposed to be canceled through, I thought it said March 31st. We were going to start practice on the 30th. Is that a problem? Like, can we have like an informal team meeting practice, or what are the rules like on when we're supposed to start practicing?
So when we're asking that if you're a UCS school or a local program and you do everything through your city, like we can't tell you guys what to do. We technically like can't really tell you guys exactly what to do. We are recommending that you don't do anything until we reach back out at the end of March. So if you have an informal practice and you guys wanna, if you're comfortable enough at your discretion to hold that practice, you can go ahead and do so. I mean, who knows? We might have some changes in the next week or so moving forward. But if you guys are comfortable enough with starting on the 30th, you can go ahead and do so. I just can't promise that if anything happens at that practice that like our ASI will cover anything. I think that's our biggest worry, and that's why we had to set a specific date. Does that make sense, Allison?
Yeah. No, totally. That's why I was asking the question. So I didn't.
For sure. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So and like it's not even like an official practice because we were backing it up 8 weeks from Grand Junction, and that was 9 in case weather and other stuff happened. But that's fine. I got it. So thanks.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So based on basketball this past season, I have a question about team sports. So we have an athlete who uses a wheelchair, which I'm sure you've heard about, but one of the options was playing at competition with athletes who also use a wheelchair to make a combined team from there. Is there a possibility of knowing who those athletes are in advance so that they aren't coming into competition and playing unknown with a team or another option, because it's likely that he will be playing soccer as well?
Okay. That's something I would love to chat offline with you about. We want to grow the wheelchair aspect when it comes to team sports. Believe it or not, moving Special Olympics wheelchair team sports isn't a sanctioned event. Like we started that basketball event because we had so many wheelchair athletes interested in competing, and we want our athletes to compete. So Aspen, why don't me and you touch base offline, and then maybe we can develop some sort of one-pager or communication piece as we head into each team sport, and maybe start building a communication list to where we can communicate with our wheelchair athletes and their guardians or caregivers and parents separately to try to make those things happen at our team events. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great. I know our athlete who uses a wheelchair would be thrilled to be like actually with the team in advance. So
Of course,
great.
absolutely.
I will reach out to you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Aspen. All right, last call on questions, guys, so you guys can get off this call. All right, then we will stop the conference call. Again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to your regional managers or to myself or Susan. If not, have a great season, and we will be in touch. Take care, everyone.